Hi, so welcome to part 2 of the busting the myths about phallo. I did get cut off in my last video. I didn't know how much room I had left on my phone, so sorry for the abrupt stop there, but I was done myth 3 anyways. So on to the next part. Myth 4. This one is that if you get the radial forearm flap phalloplasty, that it will majorly impact your arm or hand mobility. I hear this one so much. It's a major concern from people that play instruments, people that need that very fine motor coordination in their hands, fingers, arms, athletes, all sorts of stuff. And I have to say, I was worried a little bit about this as well because of those that don't know, I'm in nursing school, so I will need the fine motor coordination that comes with doing nursing skills, drawing up medication, stuff like that. So I didn't want to lose that. And I also had no idea how much mobility I would have when I woke up from surgery, how quick it would be to come back. I had no idea, nothing. So I hope to provide you all some information about what that looked like for me, so maybe it's less scary for any of you moving forward if you choose to have it from the forearm. So my experience, I'll just share that with you first, is that, like I said, I had no idea going into surgery what my mobility would be like on the other end. So I woke up, and when you first wake up and you're in the ICU or in the hospital for the first bit, you don't have much mobility because you have this, I had forget what it's called, but it's like a vacuum bandage, wound vac, there you go. A wound vac on my arm, which kind of restricted my mobility a little bit there. But not only did I have that, I also had my arm wrapped up in this big bulky bandage thing. So I couldn't really move my arm. It was kind of wrapped around my thumb a little bit, like how you see casts do. I could move my fingers like fine like this, which I was quite surprised about. I did not expect to be able to move my arm one bit. So the ability to move my fingers, I was impressed. I couldn't really move my arm. It was heavy, it was resting, it was elevated anyways. So I didn't mind. I mean, I wasn't focused on that. I was sleeping half the time. But when they removed the wound vac, a couple days later, they removed the bandage, everything like that. I was surprised. I could actually move my arm quite easily. I didn't really have pain in my arm either. As far as like wrist movement, this is the arm that I didn't have it on, this is the arm that I did, but I could say I could do about this maybe, right out the gate, maybe like this. It was a little bit harder to get the mobility going down. So I couldn't do a whole lot. I couldn't text while I was in the hospital. I was doing a lot of voice to text. I probably could, but it would be like this, and like I wouldn't see what I was doing. So I did do hand therapy after, which I have to stress great importance on hand therapy because that made a big difference. I think I only did about 3 sessions, and within the 3 sessions I had some debriding, so that's like picking off the old dead tissue to allow for like new tissue to grow. And they made me a custom fitting kind of thing to rest my arm in. I got mobility back a lot faster because of the hand therapy. So highly suggest that. I'd say by the end of the first month, I had like 95% back. I probably have like 99% mobility now. There's very little difference. My grip was a little bit weaker, but now I think it's pretty equal, if not stronger on the left because I work so hard on it. I have no discomfort doing push-ups or my hands like in that bent position like this. I can move my wrists, my fingers. I never had an issue with my fingers, so that was totally fine. And I think that by the first session of hand therapy I had, and that was like a week and a half after surgery, I had about 75% back. So it worked pretty well. And I just did these exercises. You can even ask other people that have had them, that have had phallo and that have had it from their arm, what exercises they did. Or you can probably find some online. But like one was kind of, I held a bag with soup cans and I did like this. This one is a great one that really helped. And I only did it about 2 or 3 times a day. So yeah, now I'll show you. My mobility is pretty like equal. As you can see, my hands bent the same. I can do this. I can do this. It's a little bit, as you can see, a little bit more on this hand here. Good strength. You know, I can twist all the way around. Yeah, like it's all there. So on to the 5th myth. This is also regarding the arm. That the scar on your arm is very noticeable. People will see it. People will question it all the time. It'll be like super noticeable, the indent, everything, and it will possibly even out you as being trans. This also was a worry of mine, but because of other reasons, I decided to get it from the forearm anyways. I wanted to get RFF. So I was very happy that this wasn't the case for me. So I'd say most people, they have it wrapped and bandaged and stuff until about it's healed, all the areas have closed. I'd say maybe a month or so. Most people I know took about a month, maybe a little bit less. Mine took longer. Mine took about 8 or 9 weeks just because I had a small area that wouldn't close. And it was just like maybe this big and it just wouldn't close. I had to keep bandaging it. But I just kept that area bandaged. I kept the rest open. You're not supposed to use like a silicone sleeve or anything until it's all healed. So I just had it exposed, the rest of my arm. And one thing that I really noticed is that it lightened a lot faster than I thought. And I even let it out in the sun, which you're not supposed to do for scars, but I don't think it impacted it that much. I didn't really have an issue. It didn't tan it anymore. I don't have a major indent on mine. I'll show you later. It's not super noticeable, and actually more people paid attention to my arm and asked me what happened to it when I had the cast kind of thing on it and when I had a sleeve on. So like you can order like bike sleeves and stuff like that, and a lot of people do that to cover their scar so people don't ask. But actually, more people were asking why I had my arm covered than when I didn't have that there. When I had my sleeve, and I started noticing this. So I took my sleeve off, and I just had my arm all healed and exposed, and people didn't ask. I mean, whether it's people glancing and just feeling like it's too rude to ask, or whether they didn't really notice it, I got asked maybe 3 out of 10 times, so it was a lot less than I expected. And when I did get asked, I kind of played around with it a little bit, coming up with different stories that I could say of what happened. Most of the time I just said, like, I had a pretty bad burn and I needed a skin graft for my scar, which led to the scar. And some people would go into details asking how and stuff like that, and I just come up with a story. But a lot of people just, when I said skin graft, they were like, okay. And not many people asked. Anyways, I kind of had a little fun with this, trying out different stories. If people didn't believe it, I'd be like, well, it's personal anyways. So then they would just stop asking. But people don't ask anymore. It's lightened, they don't see it, and I've also had tattooing over it, which is a way that you can disguise it as well. So there's options you can disguise your scar and or help heal it, lighten it. I've mentioned some of those before, like the silicone sleeves. They actually helped smooth out my arm quite a lot and also lighten it. I used a Silipose sleeve, I think it's called, and I didn't have that on all the time, only about, I think, 2 or 3 hours a day, and it definitely helped, so I recommend that. Some people, surgeons, will recommend they get compression sleeves. This also helps with the swelling. I had swelling in my hand for about 6 months, and I tried the compression sleeves, I tried elevating, I tried ice, nothing helped. The swelling was just there in my hand, so I just let it go. It's fine now, as you can see. And So the compression sleeve can also help hide it because it's a sleeve. You can use the regular sleeves like I mentioned, like bike sleeves and stuff. Also, there's options like Integra, which can help if you have a dent, like that will help kind of reduce the dent, and that's done around the time of what your original surgery anyways. Fat grafting can also help eliminate that. I don't know much about those because I didn't have those done. And you can also have tattooing over the scar after about a year or two, dependent on the tattoo artist, what they say, and your surgeon. I just had tattooing done on mine, and I have to say it was not painful. I actually felt nothing when they tattooed on the scar. It took really well. There wasn't bleeding. There wasn't like smudging of the ink. I'll even show you. So, as you can see, I don't know, the light is kind of bad. It's really hidden. You can't really tell where it ends, where it starts. There's not really an indent on my arm either compared to my other arm. So, yeah, you can't really see. And it's quite light, too. I don't know. There, yeah. So it's pretty lightened. Okay, the next one. Myth 6 is one thing that so many people I talk to were also concerned about. I was really concerned about. I don't think it gets like spoken to as much as maybe it should. But this is that it's more of a, I guess, a concern, maybe a myth, but that is having phalloplasty is very painful, and that it's a very difficult recovery. It'll take months and months. That's not always true. First, I'll address the pain aspect. So, yes, it's a big surgery. Yes, it's involving your arm and your leg, or your leg and your leg, or many other graft sites, and hooking up all sorts of things in like your pelvic area, which is a very sensitive area anyways. And it seems like a lot. It's a long surgery, but you're in an intensive unit. You're in the hospital for quite a while. They don't discharge you the same day. I was in the hospital for 5 days in the ICU. Like, they were watching me. Not because of any major issues, just it's the protocol to have you under like intense watch to make sure that your blood flow is well maintained and that everything's going all right. So they have you on quite a few medications to prevent this pain, because it is going to be painful. Some of the pain meds, they had me on opioids. Eventually they had me on some things called NSAIDs, which are like ibuprofen, Advil, stuff like that. That can later help with the swelling. That's down the road. I didn't have that originally, but they have you on the opioids, which will help with the pain. They also have you on meds that help with spasms, so like muscle relaxers, bladder spasm medications. And these help relax your muscles and eliminate like the tight kind of spasming pain that you may feel. They also have you on anti-anxiety medications, which will help calm any worries that you have. Stress and nerves can also increase your pain, so that'll help with that, and it'll help relax you. And you're sleeping quite a lot, so really your pain's well managed. Also, you can be on antibiotics, which can help with any infections, preventing any infections. It's indirectly related to pain. You will be given the pain medications IV first, and then eventually weaned onto oral medications. So a lot of people are worried about, will I get addicted to the pain medications? I'm taking them for this. I don't want to take the opioids. They're bad. Actually, when you're using them for what you should be using them for the pain control, when your body's stressed out like this, they're good. They also help relax you, decrease your stress, which helps increase healing, and you won't get addicted from taking them for the pain in this immediate post-op period. I didn't need pain medication really, even orally, after I'd say about 2 weeks, and I was taking them less and less. I didn't have any pain really in my actual like surgical site in the penis itself, in the scrotum, none of that. I didn't have pain in my arm. Most of the pain was actually from laying flat for 5 days in my back, and that's a complaint I hear quite a lot. The back pain is a major one. I also got headaches from taking medication for my back pain, and then it would give me a headache, so then I'd take medication for that. That's not the case for everyone. I just had like rebound pain from the medication for my back. Then later the spasms did, I'd say the most pain was from catheter and spasms, bladder spasms, and that can be managed if you're take your bladder spasm and muscle relaxer medications regularly. You may not have these things going on. Like I thought, I don't need to take the bladder spasm medications. I don't have any bladder spasms. Well, even if you don't have them, take them because they will prevent them. That's what I've learned. That's my advice. I did have some pain and that was very minimal as well. Like one time I had an episode of bladder spasms, but that was it. I did have leg pain from where they did the split thickness graft to cover my arm where it was the donor from. And that felt like a really bad, tight sunburn for about 4 days. And then it was fine. So that was probably the worst of it all. So pain's very well controlled. It's not a concern. They will make sure that they control it. If you're having pain, speak to your doctor, speak to your surgeon. They will control it. As far as, and then also another tip is it's good to take your pain medication around the clock, even if you don't have the pain in the beginning, because then you don't have these like dips and peaks. You kind of stay stable. And one thing that they can have in the hospital is patient-controlled pain medication, which with a button you can press and it controls it on its own. You won't overdose. It's locked into a system with timing locks and dose locks. It will keep you like this instead of having as you wait for your next pain med to be delivered. But take them preemptively. If you're going to be moving around the first time you get up and walk, take it before that. If you're going to do anything that's going to be bending or moving, like maybe a shower, before that, move slowly when you've taken your pain meds so you can get kind of dizzy. But yeah, it's well controlled. And as far as like the very difficult recovery, that really varies. The main thing is like some people have complications, some don't. You're generally out for a good month. You have to be around the surgeon for 3-4 post-ops anyways. So just take that time to relax. You're not like unable to move or anything for a month. You're able to move, you're able to do things. I needed some help with showering until the month, but some people I know didn't. Like you're not incapable of doing anything. You're still there. It's just patience. It's a slow recovery. You don't want to stress your body out. You don't want to move too fast. So just really take this time to watch all the Netflix shows or whatever you want. And by about the 2 months, starting to feel normal, I was able to like do normal activities by a month. But the 2 months is when people say they start feeling normal, and when the restrictions to like you can start exercising again start going off. If you have complications, it can be longer. I had some complications myself, which I'll touch on another video, but that extended my recovery, and it did make it a little bit more difficult. But I had a friend who was completely fine after the 2 months, totally back to normal. So it varies, but I wouldn't say it's an extremely difficult recovery. I wouldn't say it takes an extremely long time. Depends on your staging. If you want to get more things down the road, if you want to get that erectile device and the implants, or if you're fine with just what you have. Also, if you get urethral lengthening to stand to pee, or if you don't, those all affect the length of recovery as well. And most surgeries, like top surgery even, you're not supposed to do a whole lot for the first 4 weeks. So it's not that different in those ways, but it is a major surgery. So take it slow, have patience. I have a couple more, which I'm going to touch on part 3, I guess, because it's going longer than I thought, but I will explain those in the next video.